On a visual overview in DataMiner, you have the possibility to dynamically display all the elements, services, or redundancy groups inside a view, or to display all elements or services inside a service. In this video, I'm going to show you how to dynamically generate shapes on a visual overview for each element inside a view. So before we actually start to create our visual overview that will represent shapes dynamically based on elements inside a view, let me show you the setup in DataMiner. In DataMiner here on the left, you can see I have a view called myView1, and inside this view I have 4 elements: tx1, tx2, tx3 and txb. When I open this view, you can see it's currently a blank page, but what I would like to do is I would like to generate a shape for each element inside this view. As soon as I remove or add elements to this view, my visual overview needs to update dynamically. So let's see how we can do that. I will start to edit this Visio live in Microsoft Visio. Currently we have a blank page. The first thing we always have to do to dynamically generate shapes inside DataMiner is to draw an area in which we are going to generate our child shapes. So this is here my rectangle. I will group this rectangle inside Visio. I right click group and I choose for group. Now I will open this group, and inside this group I will create a new child group. So I choose group, open group. Now that I am inside my group, I will draw another rectangle that will represent my child elements. I have to draw my rectangle and then I have to group that again. So I right click and I choose for group, group. So if I close this, what do we have now? We have an outer group and we have inside a child group. Now I have some mandatory shape data fields that I need to add to my group and to my child. The shape data that I need to add to my group is the following. So I right click and I define some new shape data. The shape data that I need to add on group level is the one with the name children. And the value for this is element. If you're not going to display elements on this visual overview, but services instead, then you add here services, or if you are displaying views or redundancy groups, you add this accordingly to this value field. But now we are going to display elements, so I'm putting here children element. Let me hit OK. Now on child level, I also have to add some shape data. And here I have to add a shape data called child type. The value of this needs to be also element, just like before. And again, if you are representing a service or a view or redundancy group, you have to put here not element, but service or view or redundancy group. So if I hit OK, and if I save this Visio, let me go then to DataMiner, and what do we see already? We see 4 shapes representing the elements inside my view. We see immediately that they are linked up to the elements and that they are taking the overall element state for each of the elements. Now additionally, I would also like to see the name of the element inside my box. So what do we need to add for that? Let's go back to Microsoft Visio. I go to my child, and more specifically to the rectangle inside my child. And on that rectangle, I need to first type a asterisk. This will be the placeholder for the element name. And I need to define some shape data with the name info name. Now DataMiner knows that he needs to put the element name inside this box. So if I save this and show the result of this, then we see that indeed DataMiner is now taking the name of the elements, as you can also see them in the surveyor. So these are the mandatory shape data fields that you have to put on the group level and the child level. Without these, you are not able to display any shape dynamically. On top of that, you can also add some optional shape data fields. You don't have to do that, but if you want to tweak the look and feel of how these shapes are being displayed, then you can tweak that with some optional shape data fields. We have several options over here. I will display only one, and after that I will refer then to our DataMiner help. The one that I would like to show is one that is used very often, and that is the ability to sort all the elements on our visual overview by severity. As you can see right now, it is just sorting them according to alphabetically, basically. And I would like to have first the criticals, and then, for example, the majors, and then the warnings, and only then the normal elements. Why is this handy? If you have a very big list with a lot of elements and you have to scroll down to see all the elements, then you might miss some critical elements inside your visual overview. If you sort them by severity, you immediately see that all the most critical ones are on the top. How can we do that in Visio? On our group level, we need to add some shape data. We need to add the shape data children sort. So I will define some new shape data like this. And as a value, I'm going to choose for severity. I type a comma and I say descending because I want to see the most critical element on top. I hit OK. I save my Visio again, and if I check the result, now you see indeed my the most critical element with the highest severity is now on top, which is my transmitter 2, which is in a critical state at this moment. As you can see, DataMiner generated a shape for each element inside the view on which my Visio resides at this moment. But let's say that I don't want to generate shapes for these elements inside my current view, but from another view, for example, my view 2, in which I have 2 elements. How can I do that? In Visio, what you then have to do is, on group level, you have to specify an extra shape data called view. And as a value, you give the view name of the view from which you want to generate shapes from, which is in my case, my view 2. If I press OK and I save this, then you will see that currently I'm not displaying a shape for each element inside this view, but for each element inside the view that I specified in my Visio. There are a lot of other shape data fields that can be added to the shapes to tweak it a bit further, but for that I am kindly referring to our DataMiner help. And where can you find all of that information? Well, if you go to the DataMiner help, under the section Basic DataMiner Functionality, Visio Drawings, Generating Shapes Dynamically, and finally under the section Generating Shapes based on child items inside a view or a service. On this page you can find the entire description of all the things that I told you in this video, and you see some extra shape data fields that can be added. What do we see? For example, you can add also some child margin to have some space in between the generated shapes. You can, as we already used, also define another type of child like a service, view, or redundancy group. You can filter down the shapes that need to be automatically generated based on protocol or property, etc. And also you have some extra options like lazy loading. If you have a big amount of elements inside a view, that it's only going to kind of load the elements only when you start scrolling through them. And there are lots more options to sort your children shapes and to nicely stack them horizontally, vertically, or in a grid. So now you know how to dynamically generate shapes based on elements inside a view. Feel free to also try to generate shapes for elements inside a service or for services inside a view. You will see that you will save a lot of time with this. Thanks for watching and see you around.